please welcome Senior Director, Developer Marketing, Ricky Robinett.
What's up, Google Cloud Next? How's everybody doing? It is 4 p.m. It is the last spotlight. I am so stoked to be here, and as George Washington said, you could be any place in the world right now, but you're right here with us, so thank you very much. It's in the Hamilton, if you doubt me. You may have heard Arthur C. Clarke's third law. That states that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And as a developer and an amateur magician, and I'll stress the word amateur, I feel like we're living that truth right now. And lately, I don't know about you all, I've been having the most fun of my entire career. So for the next 45 minutes, we're gonna lean into that feeling, and we're gonna show you how AI agents and AI are changing how developers and teams work. But of course, many of us have concerns, right? These changes in the world of software are bringing up tough questions like, what is my role? Or are my skills still valuable? And I've started coding when I was a kid. Code's actually been a part of my life for literally as long as I can remember. So if you're having these concerns, I don't want you to feel like you're alone, because I ask myself these questions too. But I want us all to take a breath. What we want to show you throughout our demos is how your skills are still valuable. We believe that developers who understand code remain essential in professional software development. What is changing, though, is that the strict silos for responsibilities that have kept developers walled off from product, design, DevOps, and operators, they are coming down, right? And it's not just developers. We're seeing those walls coming down between all functions, right? So today, if you're a product manager, you don't have to wait weeks for someone like me to get through an engineering sprint and ship an idea. You can quickly spin up your own prototype, right? And designers, my wife is a designer, so she loves this. She can deliver working front-end code connected to live data. And front-end engineers, they can sling together complex back-end integration logic, and we don't have to pass tickets back and forth and back and forth. I don't know about you all, I hate every time I have to file a ticket. I just don't do it, which is bad. People here who work with me know that. So in short, the roles are blending, right? And organizational structures are changing with that. In fact, according to Gartner, by 2030, AI native development platforms will result in 80% of organizations evolving large software engineering teams into smaller, more nimble teams augmented by AI. So those 20-person teams that we're used to, they can now be divided into teams, 4 teams of 5 people, right? Focused on different goals. So inside these smaller teams, technical leads lean on their years of institutional knowledge to curate code style guides, documentation, and guardrails that agents will use to scale your engineering best practices. And the junior engineers, they will orchestrate those agents and use that context to roll out new features in safe and compliant ways. And no matter what model or tool you're using, it's the context that's going to provide the most useful results for you. So we've made Google Cloud Services open and accessible through MCP skills and extensions, right? So we make it easy for your tools to draw context from your repos, your infrastructure, your documentation, and our best practices to generate code tailored to you. And the advantages of that context are obvious for vibe coding. I think I'm doing a lot of vibe coding. I see some of my favorite vibe coders in the room. But these are other places where it becomes really, really useful. Take a look at this. It's going to pop up behind me. The Stack Overflow Developer Survey. 76% of development teams say they have no plans to use AI for deployment monitoring in the next 3 to 5 years, right? So AI has not yet made it to the harder parts of software development, things like deployment, observability, and integration. And imagine if you knew of a strategic opportunity that 3/4 of your competitors were not even trying. So today, we'll show you how to bring AI to the rest of the software development lifecycle with the help of Google Cloud. To help me out, please welcome on stage Aaron Wanjala. Aaron, set the stage for us. What are we building today?
Well, thank you, Ricky. And before we get into it, I just want to take a second to say how honored I am to be here with you all at Next 2026. We have a great show ahead of us, and I'm just excited to be the one driving. So let's go.
Let's do it.
Now, according to the National Retail Federation, last year, retailers processed about $76 billion worth of fraudulent returns. Today, we're going to help an online retailer to address this issue with a new app that integrates cleanly with their existing ERP system where customer transactions are already stored.
A massive business problem and a legacy brownfield system sounds like the perfect challenge. So here's the plan, Aaron. We'll start creating a UI for our new app, and then we'll move on to building an agent to power it. We'll get it into production, and then we'll reuse our agent in another business process. Let's hop over to the desk and get to work.
Let's do it.
All right, so for our demo today, I am stepping into the role of technical lead. I guess I got a promotion, I'll take it. And in a recent meeting, our VP shared that we're dealing with a spike in returns. So I managed to grab a screenshot of this Looker dashboard saying that damaged packaging accounted for 40% of total returns. That is way above our historical average.
Yeah, geez, that seems like we're probably dealing with fraud here. And actually, right now, our returns process doesn't actually involve a proof of return package step. We just provide a refund.
Yeah, I think I did something like that in college. So that is a gap for sure. So let's build a mobile web app that customers can use to upload a picture of their damaged package before we can process the return.
Let's do it. So to get started, the first thing we want to do is quickly create a V1 of our UI in Google AI Studio. Now, this is Google's web-based prototyping environment. And to get started, we have a lot of prompts ahead of us here. So I'm just going to take a second to say, I'm going to be pasting in prompts. You don't want to see me type all these out. So yeah, we're going to say, we want to build a UI for a mobile returns app. It needs to prompt the user to take a photo of the damaged box. And we want the whole experience to feel modern and trustworthy. And now AI Studio will go ahead and create the UI, giving us a dynamic preview of the interface as it goes. Now, while we're waiting for the code to actually appear, I want to take a second to highlight a few things in the UI. First up is the share button in the top right here. And what this lets us do is share the workspace with other team members so that they can weigh in on the design before we deploy. And speaking of deploying, if we go to publish right here, we can also get this in the hands of our external users as soon as possible, which means that we have built-in deployment options right here. Just a couple clicks, and we can have the code running live on Cloud Run.
And this is great stuff, Aaron. Now, while I actually would love to sit here and watch Gemini pump out a bunch of code, we do need to keep the show going forward. So could you fast forward a bit and show us what it looks like when it's deployed?
Oh yeah, fair enough, Ricky. So here we are. My app is deployed, it's ready. And now I want to try actually, what would it be like to return a package as a customer? So I'm going to click on the item I want to return. And I want to take a picture of my damaged box. So I'll open up the camera, take a picture here, get the logo right side up, and there we go. We're ready to submit it.
Yeah, that's awesome, and nice work on the logo. Marketing team likes that. I'm on the marketing team, good job. So we have a working UI, thank you. I see you laughing, so I'll take one person. We need the decision-making intelligence to solve the business problem. So which packages should we accept for returns, and which need more scrutiny? So we need to evaluate these returns automatically. We need two things for that. First, we need a computer vision model to verify that the package is actually damaged. And second, we need a reputation model to analyze the customer's return history so we don't risk hurting the satisfactions with high-value, loyal customers. Now, normally, Aaron would have to file a ticket with a specialized data science team and wait for those models. But using agents, Aaron built them himself. Aaron, what did you bring with us today?
Well, yeah, you're exactly right, Ricky. So for the first step, for the visual classifier, I actually used NanoBanana to generate synthetic proprietary images of our damaged boxes, which we used to train a custom vision model. Then I was able to take that model and deploy it to the newly announced Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. And that allows it to run as a managed service so that our app can access it via API.
Yeah, and I love this approach. I normally use NanoBanana to turn myself into a wizard. This seems much more practical. And we could have used Gemini to assess each photo, but creating a vision model trained just for this purpose that runs on Google Stack is easy to implement and it's way more efficient.
That's exactly right, Ricky. It's great for enterprises that want to both move fast and also manage costs. Now, for the reputation model step of this, I used the Google Cloud Data Agent Kit. And to get started there, I just went to my agent manager and gave it a prompt to create a reputation model based on our return history in BigQuery. And because this is already connected to my data warehouse, it was able to write the SQL for me, complete with introspection, because it's already aware of my schemas. And then I was able to deploy both the vision model and the reputation models to Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform, so they were online and available for me to use for inference. And then I was able to also add the code for both models, the reputation and the vision, to GitHub. You can see here we have the progression model and the classification model.
Great, and I love hearing how you pulled that all together. And I'm also happy to report for you all that the data agent kit that Aaron used is now available in preview. So would love for you all to try it out and show us what you do with it. And let's check in. We have our prototype. We have our data models. Now we need the actual business logic for our app. And there are bound to be a lot of edge cases for this use case, especially when we would be making our return decisions based on deterministic if-then statements. They won't really work well for that. And that is exactly why an agent which can reason over fuzzy inputs like borderline damage is the right tool to use here. We want this agent to use the visual classifier and reputation models that Aaron built, and we need it to reach into our legacy on-premise system to pull the customer's real-time purchase history and use all of that information to make a final decision on the return. Aaron, how are we gonna build this?
That's a great question. For this step, we're actually gonna use the open source agent development kit, ADK, because it saves us a lot of time when it comes to writing custom boilerplate for things like state management, tool routing, and retry logic that we'll need for every project. ADK gives us an enterprise-ready observable agent that is ready to be the brains of our application.
I love an ADK demo, so this is gonna be fun. As team lead, I've gathered our organizational guardrails, our modern coding style guides, and yes, even those dusty legacy Java docs into our repo, so ADK can use that context as it gets to work. Aaron, take it away.
Let's do it. So for this step, I have my terminal open, and I'm using Gemini CLI for this step. I've already went ahead and pulled down the code from the UI prototype we made earlier to give us a starting point, along with Ricky's Java docs. And so I want to build a return evaluation agent that bridges our new models with the old ERP system. To get started, our prompt will be to implement an agent-to-agent compliant agent using ADK to generate a return evaluation process. It needs to leverage both the new reputation and vision models and query the legacy ERP for customer data, and then transform that object into a JSON format that works perfectly for our new modern UI.
Yeah, and notice Aaron asked for an A2A compliant agent. So this standard prevents our logic from being trapped in a silo, so other enterprise systems can discover and interact with it. So just spoiler alert, we're gonna come back to that, so make a mental bookmark of this architectural choice because it'll save us from duplicating this exact work later on. All right, so it looks like Gemini CLI is actively reading some of the documentation we provided and trying to figure out how to talk to our agent customer data backend.
Exactly. It's defining the agent right now. It's already identified that we need necessary API endpoints from the context we provided in the docs to deal with tricky legacy interfaces like authentication. And now it's providing clear, structured instructions that will guide the agent decision-making process. For example, if the vision model detects borderline damage, we know to reach out to our backend to figure out the customer's lifetime value score before deciding.
Yeah, and in Aaron's prompt, you'll notice it said, query the legacy ERP system and transform the output into a JSON format. Lots of acronyms in there, which is always a good sign for a prompt. This simple sentence is about to address a ton of complex work. So old systems, new apps, they don't usually communicate well. Why is that? Well, a legacy database is structured in a legacy way, right? And so when your new app queries it for the information, it might return a bunch of information that's not relevant, or it may be structured in a way that your application can't understand. And usually what we have to do as developers is map every single line so that the two systems can talk. I've spent hours doing this. I'm sure you all have too. And this agent will take care of all of that for us and provide a JSON output that our app can easily understand. Something like status approved, loyalty score 95.
Yeah, it's a great point, Ricky. And I mean, just to keep things moving, I'm going to jump ahead to how this agent will work once our ADK app is done being built. So for this, I can use ADK Web, which is our built-in development and debugging interface to access the agent and call it locally so we can test it out. Now, I'm going to go in here and put in a prompt for a customer, and I'm going to provide the ID. We're requesting a package, a return due to damage package. Let's go. And you'll notice that I didn't give it a picture to evaluate here, so the agent has to use the customer reputation model and customer information that it queries from the database, such as return history, loyalty program status, and based on this, it's coming back with, a decision to approve the return. And here in the trace tab, we can even see down to the latency, tool calls, tracing, all these things that are part of the agent's thought process. All in all, I'd say this is working as expected.
Yeah, and we just use ADK to help generate a secure transaction layer. Aaron didn't refactor a database. He didn't write a single line of logic to parse our outdated XML. Our agent is built and ready for our app. Look at the velocity we just unlocked, Aaron. Pretty awesome. So think about how this redefines your team structures. No waiting on dependencies with specialist teams to help us solve system integration challenges. Over time, by reviewing this generated code, junior engineers will build up deep legacy knowledge and grow into leads themselves. And Aaron and I have been showing you what a two-person team can do on stage, but let's bring this back to the enterprise reality. It's one thing to orchestrate a fleet of agents in a demo environment. It's an entirely different beast when you have to navigate the strict compliance, the security guardrails, and the decades of technical debt a highly regulated financial institution has to face. So to share a real-world story of evolving engineering cultures and team structures, please welcome the lead of enterprise architect at KeyBank, Azim Shaik. Azim, good to see you, man. Nailed the hug, nice work. All right, Azim, welcome to Las Vegas, welcome to Next. It's so stoked to have you here.
Thanks, Ricky. It's great to be here.
And so before we dive into the tech side of things, for folks out there who might not be familiar with KeyBank, can you give us a quick overview and talk about the environment your team's operating in?
Absolutely. KeyBank is one of the largest regional banks in the US. We've got over 200 years of banking history operating across 15 states. In software terms, that means we manage millions of lines of legacy code in a highly regulated environment. Security, compliance, and strict enterprise constraints are at the core of everything we do.
Yeah, and navigating that usually means huge teams, moving really slow, but I know you've been working on these acceleration initiatives to change that. What does that look like for you?
Well, Ricky, it's a total shift. Last year, we moved away from massive groups and formed small, highly focused teams of just 4 to 5 people. We tasked them with narrowly scoped problems and a very tight execution window. For example, I was on a team focused specifically on a data loss prevention use case. The goal wasn't just prototyping. We wanted to actively reduce analyst toil by working directly with real data, real integrations, and real enterprise constraints.
Yeah, I love it. It's small teams, it's real constraints, but how do you compress the planning cycles down for something as sensitive as DLP without getting bogged down in endless design docs and meetings?
Well, a major differentiator for us was giving our teams AI developer tools. In our case, Gemini CLI and Gemini Code Assist. They were most instrumental in helping us collapse the planning phase of our acceleration sprints. Instead of spending weeks passing design documents back and forth, our teams used Gemini to quickly reason through architectures and validate the feasibility. We could surface our API constraints, data loss rules, data access rules, and workflow boundaries immediately, showing a credible path to production on day one.
And I love it. We talked earlier on about how a lot of the focus on AI developer tools is around vibe coding, but it sounds like coding faster wasn't simply what you were doing.
Exactly. The real game changer that we discovered was that we were able to eliminate uncertainty earlier in our process. Gemini helped our small teams quickly determine what was automatable, what explicitly required human judgment, and exactly where our governance boundaries existed. Because we had that clarity upfront, our team of 5 could move end-to-end autonomously. We didn't have to sit around in long cross-team ticketing queues waiting for other departments to validate our integration points. We owned the problem completely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no more ticket queues. You had me at that, Azim. I'm like, let's go. What was the ultimate outcome for the business?
The ultimate outcome was stakeholders' confidence, right? Because we compressed the planning, validation, and execution in such a tight loop. We weren't just delivering conceptual demos. We were delivering production-ready outcomes. In short, acceleration outcomes worked because they combined 3 things: small autonomous teams with clear ownership, strong pre-existing enterprise guardrails, and agentic tools. It proved that we can truly deliver more with less.
Delivering production-ready outcomes with small teams thanks to AI, that is the true magic of this new era. Azim, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thanks, Ricky.
Give it up for Azim. Azim's story brings to life what we talked about earlier, right? KeyBank collapsed the silos and equipped groups of 5 people to own and deliver solutions for critical business problems. No ticket queues, no waiting on other departments. Thanks to the right tools and the right context, they're not just delivering prototypes, they're creating production-ready solutions. Now, switching gears back to our demo, missed you, Aaron. Aaron just created an agent that acts as our app logic, but that's only half the battle to trying to make it work. It takes time to tackle some of the most frustrating problems in software development so we can get this code into production.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ricky. Let's get back into it. Now, as you said, we have our application logic, and now we need infrastructure.
Yeah, right. Cloud architecture is complex, and as we just heard from Azim, development in the enterprise means thinking about governance and automation, and not to mention observability.
Correct. Plus, doing this at scale means that we have to define our infrastructure as code using popular tech like Terraform. But writing IAC from scratch is a drag, and usually requires a team that has both the special knowledge and time to do it.
Yeah, and as you might have guessed, we're going to show you a better way. And earlier, we used Gemini CLI in our terminal to design our agent, and we heard Azim talk about how his team is using it to speed up their processes. And we could keep going with that, but Google Cloud is open. And we want to prove that to you in this demo. Many developers I talk to are using Claude Code. So today, Aaron is going to design and provision the environment we need directly from his terminal using Claude. So Aaron, take it away.
All right, let's do it. So here I am in my terminal. And first thing I'm going to do is make sure that Claude has access to the Gemini Cloud Assist, which allows us to use the design agent. And the design agent uses Gemini to understand the description of what we want to build. Then it generates configurations like Terraform code to design architecture that's secured and customized to our app. So I'm going to prompt it here. Design our infrastructure for application, use Cloud Run. We want to connect securely to the on-prem legacy ERP, via our VPC connector, register the service in App Hub, and finally, give me a high-fidelity arch diagram of the result.
Yeah, and Aaron is using MCP to access the design agent. MCP is the universal standard that allows agents from any provider to discover and access tools from the wider ecosystem. It just makes it way easier to build with best practices.
Absolutely. It's a huge time saver. And what you're seeing is that the agent has reviewed my local workspace, understands the application, and gives us a customized infrastructure stack specific to our code and context. And I don't know about you, Ricky, I'm much more of a visual person.
Yeah,
which
same.
is handy, because ADK didn't just give us a text summary. It also gave us an easy to understand visual diagram of the infrastructure design. You can see the traffic coming in through Cloud Run, routing through to our VPC connector, and then straight to the brownfield customer backend.
Yeah, and as technically, the visualization was my favorite part because Aaron's not just drawing on a whiteboard. This is a rigorous enterprise-ready architectural plan. And before it's deployed, we'll need to approve it.
Yeah, I mean, the design looks good to me, so I'm just gonna say apply, this Terraform, and now we can watch the agent as empowered to deploy infra directly to Google Cloud.
Yeah, and let's stop and recognize what happened here. So the design agent inherently enforced enterprise guardrails, right? Shielding the legacy system from the public internet. It helped us configure Cloud Run so we're ready for spikes in demands like the post-holiday return surge. We aren't just spinning up a server to host an app. We are hardening the enterprise against scaling issues, fraud, and security breaches. And that design agent from Gemini Cloud Assist is now available in preview. So let's hear it for Aaron bringing the power of the cloud architect right into the terminal. All right, so the infrastructure is ready. Now we need a secure automated way to get our code onto that server. And in a traditional siloed organization, that means filing another ticket. This time with our DevOps team to configure build triggers, set up the artifact registry, wire up the SCM, and scan the code base for exposed secrets, potentially weeks of delay. Aaron, what are you gonna do instead?
All right, so for this step, we are staying right here in our terminal, but this time I'm using Google Cloud's CI/CD skill, which I've already installed in my local directory to help me complete this task. Oh, and for those not familiar with skills, as an overview, they provide agents with domain-specific expertise like workflows, context, and best practices that turn general-purpose agents into specialists. So, pasted in my prompt here, we want to, for this step, design a CI/CD pipeline that deploys our ADK project as a container to our newly deployed Cloud Run infrastructure.
Yeah, and I want you to watch this part closely as Aaron does it. So with the help of the CI/CD skill, Claude is going to scan Aaron's local workspace to understand the application context. And then it's going to ask Aaron questions of how it can best set up the pipeline for him. So he doesn't have to be a DevOps expert or wait for a ticket to be prioritized.
That's exactly right, Ricky. And that's handy because I am not a DevOps expert. But yeah, you can see that it needs some parameters from me. So I selected US Central 1 as the region, and I want Docker files for my container environment rather than build packs. And we want this to deploy on release. So I'm going to select that as the trigger branch. And there we go. I'll submit those.
Yeah, and here we're going to see the execution layer at work. The skill is going to direct Claude or any coding agent you use to make the exact API calls to autonomously provision artifact registry and wire up a secure link to GitHub using Developer Connect. Developer Connect is a bridge between your external repo and your cloud environment, which configures all the webhooks and manages credentials for you. And not gonna lie, setting up auth and networking between source repos and CI/CD tools and runtimes isn't how I enjoy spending my time personally, so I'm super happy to let the AI handle this part of the job.
I am right there with you, Ricky. And so we can see here that it's generated the cloud build.yaml file. And now it's going to ask me for actual approval before it executes the plan.
Yes, you can all check off human in the loop on your Spotlight bingo card. Aaron, how does it look?
It looks great to me, so I'm going to go ahead and approve the plan. And now Claude is enabled to make the API calls to Cloud Build, Developer Connect, Artifact Registry, and IAM to set up the pipeline. And so now that's all wired up, why don't we go ahead and have Claude actually do a test push for us to trigger the pipeline. I've already given it access to push our ADK integration to the release branch, which will trigger our release trigger on the CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah, and here it goes. There's the event-driven CI/CD pipeline.
Correct. And the pipeline is pulling in the code from SCM and then building a multi-stage Docker file for our ADK return agent. Multi-stage Docker files are an important part here because they enable fast local development while also enabling us to smoothly transition to secure production use. And then once it's done with the Docker files, it'll deploy that container straight to Cloud Run that we stood up a minute ago.
Excellent work. So folks, our application is up and running, and the infrastructure is provisioned. The pipeline configuration, which can take days of drudgery, at least if I'm doing it, was reduced down to an interactive chat. So that is true engineering velocity. Let's hear it for Aaron again. Aaron, you gotta feel good, right? That's so the CI/CD agent skill is currently in preview, so you can try that out. And let's take a quick pause here, right? Because if we were putting this agentic logic into an enterprise production environment, we need to make sure we know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Aaron, how do I tell if this thing is actually doing what it's supposed to do?
Well, that's a very fair question, Ricky. I'm right there with you. We should trust but verify. So I can actually ask our tooling here for help in tracing this agentic workflow. So I want to say, get me a link for the execution trace for our newly deployed returns agent.
Yeah, so instead of Aaron clicking around through dashboards, trying to find the needle in the haystack, the agent is gonna point him right there to the right dashboard.
Exactly. So there's the link, and when I click it, it actually drops us directly into the Google Cloud Console in the trace view. And so the problem is that when you have a chain of agents calling multiple models and multiple tools, it can be really hard to figure out where along the chain a failure may have occurred. This view solves that problem by letting us inspect not only the status, timing, and response payload of every step down to the stack traces, but also it allows us to look for more than errors. It can help us optimize efficiency and provides us with details down to the token consumption for every individual action.
Yeah, awesome work, Aaron. I've been using this a ton on my own multi-agent projects. I don't know about you all, but I'm used to dropping like console.log in all my applications and using that to debug and call it a day. But when I started working with agents, I realized that's just not gonna work. It's just like a dump of a mess. And you realize how important it is to visualize what's happening in the flow and what's happening between the agents, right? And we're all worried about token efficiency, right? If your agent gets in a massive loop with a bunch of context, then your bill is gonna go up and maybe your application even slows or goes down, right? So the level of detail that Aaron showed in seeing what's really happening with our agents, you can catch inefficient prompts, tool calls, and optimize our agent before we even push it to prod. And that is the ground truth that you can find in your agents. Know exactly what they're doing, right? No more walled gardens, no more guesswork, and that is how you confidently transition to the new way of development, full enterprise observability. So our pipeline is green, our infrastructure is secure by design, the application is live in production and returns processes on mobile devices, but let's take a look at the broader business problem, right? Our customer support team still takes return requests over the phone, right? And they need this exact same intelligence to do their job effectively. Aaron, how would the org usually handle that?
Well, in the old world, we would file another ticket.
Boo!
I know,
I'm
I'm
the
right
only
there
one
with
I
you.
thought.
That would spin up a massive cross-departmental integration project where we would write duplicate application logic for another internal support portal, and it would be a mess.
Yeah, of course, but now the agent is the application, so we don't need to duplicate that logic. So what do we do next?
Well, next we want to deploy our newly created agent to the agent registry. This step is simple because, as you called out, we made sure that this agent was A2A compliant when we created it. That means that it comes preloaded with a handy discovery URL that's effectively like a digital business card. It tells other agents about its capabilities, endpoints, and authentication requirements. So, going back to my tooling here, I'm able to just go ahead and prompt it to please register an A2A agent in agent registry with this discovery URL and give it the URL. So, let's walk through what's going to happen here. First, our CLI is going to get a sense of the project defaults and regions. Next, it's going to go ahead and fetch that agent card and do the registration using G-Cloud commands like agent registry services create. And it's that simple. Our agent is in the registry and ready for reuse.
Yeah, I love it. Agent registry creates a central catalog in Google Cloud for all your AI agents that everyone in your organization can have access to, regardless of where those agents are running, right? With the governance, security, and observability that enterprises need. And that means our agent is in Riaz's favorite place, Gemini Enterprise. Aaron, how would you return as a call center rep using Gemini Enterprise?
All right, yeah, let's take you there. So imagine, if you will, that I am a call center rep. We have props and everything. This is a premium production. So I'm on a call with a customer, and I have received a damaged package. They've received a damaged package. So I don't have a picture of the box handy, but I can go to the returns agent we just deployed and start a chat with Gemini Enterprise. So I can just say, hey, we have a customer, here's their order ID, and they're requesting a return due to damaged packaging.
Yeah, and that agent, it's using the exact same logic we generated earlier, right? It reaches out to the legacy ERP system via our secure VPC connection to pull the order details. And this is where the agent adapts, right? Because you notice it doesn't have the picture like we have on the mobile app. So it dynamically adjusts using the context it does have. It skips querying our reputation model to assess the customer's reputation score.
That's exactly right. And here we have our result. And the recommendation is to approve the return. The customer already has a high value score, high loyalty score, so there's no history of return abuse to worry about. And it's telling me to instruct the customer to ship the package back.
Great. I want everyone to stop and think about what just happened in that demo, right? We use the exact same agent from our mobile app in our call center. So we have eliminated the need to rework that you typically have to do with these efforts. And we've expanded the impact of our engineering team to other parts of the business. Everyone, for one last time, please give it up for our demo extraordinaire, Aaron Wanjala. Yeah, snaps for Aaron. I like it. He looked great in the headset too. So I shared the Arthur C. Clarke quote at the start of this, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I love this demo because it felt like that to me. We started with a problem that leaves a $76 billion hole in retailers' pockets. We ended with an intelligent agentic solution connected to modern UI and an ancient legacy system that addresses the problem, but keeps customers happy. So we've covered a lot of technology through these demos, but as a developer, I am actually particularly excited about the CI/CD skill. I am truly always trying to use less tokens, and it takes care of so much of the plumbing that slows me down. Yeah, let me get out of the way. I see people with their phones on. Get out your phones. Take a picture of this QR code. It will take you to the GitHub repo to get started right now. And we hope that the ideas we talked about today serve as inspiration for y'all to help break down the silos that have kept your teams apart. So you can now create smaller, adaptable teams that can deploy on a greater variety of goals. And as agentic development continues to spread throughout your teams, remember that it's the context that gives your tools the difference between innovation and creating a mountain of technical debt, which I know we're all worried about. So you can curate the documentation, the style guides, and guardrails that are specific to your team. And then Google Cloud can provide the MCPs, the agent skills, the hardened infrastructure, secure APIs, and code base that makes any tools and model work with your context. So since we're in Las Vegas and y'all made it to the last spotlight, I want to close out with something a little special to thank you. So can you please welcome to the stage professional magician and one of my favorite developers, Doug McKenzie.
Hey, Rick.
What's up, Doug? How's it going?
How are you?
Good, good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ricky, for the introduction. Now, it is true I am a magician, but for years I've struggled to call myself a developer. I spend a lot of my time just cutting and pasting code snippets from Stack Overflow.
Yeah, Doug, that's how we all do it. So.
Well, that's reassuring, but the truth is AI coding tools have completely changed the way I build and deploy magic. They've made coding entirely accessible to me. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I had an idea for something new. And in one afternoon, in plain English, I was able to build and deploy a brand new magic trick. Now, we've all heard the idea that the hand is quicker than the eye, but Ricky and I want to figure out if the hand is quicker than the AI. So we decided to teach Gemini some magic.
Yeah, and for that, we're going to use the oldest prompt that exists in magic, pick a card. But first, we're going to need someone to help us, someone who is okay being on camera for our recording. So Doug's going to run out into the audience and find somebody.
I like that a lot of people are avoiding eye contact. Just because you can't see me doesn't mean I can't see you. We're gonna need somebody fun for this. Would you be okay to be on camera? Yes? And your name is, don't say it, Samuel.
Yes.
Big name tag, easy. All right, everyone give Samuel a big round of applause as he joins us on stage. It is a long way, so I want to keep the applause going.
Yeah, nice. You ran a marathon, like, yeah. And we want to do this under test conditions because we know y'all are developers and you're going to be like, was that real? So everyone, I need you to scan this QR code so you can see Gemini at work for the magic trick. And when the page opens, tap the screen to connect and you'll get to be part of the magic.
Okay, and Samuel, just stand right here on top of the trap door.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, and most important, I have a deck of cards. I'm going to show them to you. Really important you verify all the cards are in fact all different. Yes? Yep. Fair?
Yep.
I'm going to call you Rain Man. That was very quick. All right. I'm going to show them to the camera as well so you guys can also see all the cards are in fact different. Fair? I'm going to keep it still for a nice close shot. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have you reach in and well, actually take the deck and give the cards a cut. You can cut a few cards, you can cut a lot of cards, but whatever you cut from the top, put it on the bottom. Is that fair?
Yep.
Oh. Go ahead, give the cards a cut. Perfect. Now that's when you cut, I could see it. So maybe you think the cards are marked. So to make sure that I could even see the markings if that was the case, cut the cards behind your back.
Behind my back?
Yep, stand on the next to the microphone, behind your back. Okay, so you cut the deck.
Yep.
Keep them behind your back. If you want to cut them again, you can, your choice. But whenever you're done cutting, take the top card, don't look at it, put it in your pocket. That way you have a card that nobody knows.
Yeah, and it's important that Doug and I don't know your card, but you do. So once you get your card, we're gonna turn our backs like this, and we want you to take a quick peek and remember your card. But don't show it to the audience, we just want you to know it. Got it?
You got it?
Yep.
I'll take the rest of the cards from you. Okay. So again, it could have been any of these, yes?
Yep.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you the deck. I want you to spread through the cards. I want you to pick 4 cards that speak to you in some way, okay? Now, you might not know it, but these 4 cards are going to be subconsciously influenced by the card that you picked, okay? So you're going to pick these 4 cards. We're going to show them to Gemini, and Gemini's going to try and figure out which card it is that you have in your pocket. Is that fair? So I'll give you the deck. Spread through the cards. Hand me any 4 cards. Okay, that's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And that's 4. You happy with these?
Yep.
Okay. Here, we're going to take these cards, just like this. And we're going to take a photo of the cards. So we have this app called Card AI. We're going to take a photo. Hold on, I'm going to get it focused on the cards. And we're going to send that photo to Gemini for analysis.
Yeah, and you all now should be able to see that photo on your phones, and you'll actually be able to watch Gemini at work as it extracts the cards and calculates which card Samuel has picked based on the data.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I want everyone in the audience, on the count of 3, to show Samuel the card that we think it is. And Samuel, not yet, and Samuel, on the count of 3, I want you to show the audience the card that you picked, okay? On 3, that's 1, 2, 3. Have a look. You got the 10 of hearts?
Wow.
10 of hearts? Looks like you made the right choices. There we go. Samuel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your help.
Yeah, nice work, Samuel. Everybody, yeah, keep up the round of applause for Samuel as he makes his way back to his seat.
Now, we might have used a little bit of magic there, but Gemini definitely did do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and that is true, Doug. And that's it for us, folks. Thank you so much for coming to this session. Enjoy Las Vegas, enjoy Weezer, do a backflip with Benson Boone, and we hope to see you next year.
Thank you.